as well get going here. So yeah, guys, as I've said in the chat, welcome everyone. Do a little intro, let us know where you're joining from, and we'll hopefully get to some of your questions towards the end of the session. But welcome to another exclusive Apollo webinar, and thank you all for joining. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Ned Phillips. We'll be discussing a range of topics from Ned's experience launching a wealth management fintech startup, Bambu, how he navigated, the various challenges that come with scaling tech startups, how to forge and foster, investor relationships, and finally understanding the new exciting initiative he's working on, the sales movement. So yeah, as I said, we'll see how we go on time, but there should be a few minutes towards the end for some audience Q&A. So just pop your questions in the chat, and I'll present those to Ned in a bit of, towards the end. So a bit of background on Ned. Ned's an entrepreneur, seasoned sales expert with extensive experience in the tech startup sector, specifically in financial tech. He's known for his dynamic sales skills. He's built and led high-performing sales teams across various industries and nations, and he's got a really deep understanding of investor relations, which has enabled him to raise significant funding for his startups and maintain those investor relations as well. And throughout his career, Ned's kind of just been that recognized sales guru, combining those sales insights with his experience to support businesses and scaling. So welcome, Ned. Thanks for joining me.
Jamie, I appreciate it. Thank you, man. And everybody, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. I think what Jamie's trying to say is that because I'm 57 and I've been selling for 30 years, actually, no, 35 years, I know something about sales. But then again, if you've done anything for 35 years, you should know something about it. But thanks, Jamie. I appreciate it.
You're far too humble there, Ned. Too humble. But so I wanted to start off discussing your experience with launching Bambu. All right. So Bambu was obviously a B2B digital wealth tech provider, which you launched out of Singapore in about 2015-16. So Ned, I'm curious around where this initial idea came from, right? And how you went about, I guess, validating that initial idea before you kind of fully committed to the startup journey.
Yeah, well, you're not going to find this one in the textbooks, because this was not some long-held belief that I needed to solve a problem. So I'll give you 30 seconds of background. I'll then give you the idiotic decision I made, which led to this decision, and then I'll tell you. So I'm 57. I have been selling technology in the financial space for, since 1990, basically, equity trading. And it was 2015. I was having a bit of career break, call it midlife crisis. Didn't have enough money to retire, but didn't need to exactly work. I was this in-between phase. And at the time, I was figuring out what to do. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, you should do fintech." Because I used to run E-Trade. It was an online broker. And back in the 90s, online broking wasn't fintech. But I was like, okay, I'm a fintech guy. Great. What should I do? And two young guys came to town, Vlad and Baiju. If anybody know who I'm referring to, they're the founders of Robinhood. And I met them, and they were like, we had a good chat. They're like, do you want to run Robinhood International? And at the time, these were just a couple of young dudes. And I remember thinking, what do these kids know? I'm going to build my own startup. So clearly the wrong decision, but I could see there was something. So I started it because just then more and more people were doing, wealth tech, fintech. And the simple idea was banking's already kind of gone digital. Equity trading's digital. Wealth absolutely sucks and it's done really badly. I should build a wealth tech company. That's it. It kind of started there. And yeah, it was the basic premise that wealth is done really badly and someone needs to fix it.
Yeah.
Why not me? I'll be the next Robin Hood. Turns out that wasn't true.
Well, no, it's interesting that. And I think what comes through there is founders, you have to be a little bit mad, right? A little bit crazy in order to commit to something like this, because it's definitely not straightforward. And, there's a lot of pitfalls you can fall into. And one of those being that, it's something we see very often at HyperNet is founders having an idea and, jumping straight into okay, I need to develop this idea into a working platform. So I'm curious around, I guess, some of maybe the product side or the development challenges you might have faced in those initial months or stages, and how you kind of dealt with that.
There's two ways. So in my opinion, I have this phrase in life: strong opinions loosely held. I have strong opinions; they're loosely held. You can change my mind by being more convincing and clever than me, which most people are. But in my opinion, there's two ways to do a startup. You either build your product, then you try to sell it, or you sell and then build. No prizes for guessing, which I did. I went out and sold, then built. So the product, I didn't really build a product. I had a premise. The premise was people will transact their wealth products, mutual funds, ETFs, digitally, and banks and asset managers will want to buy that technology. So I put together a deck that said, I'm going to build digital wealth in a B2B fashion. And I went out and tried to find a client. And I found a client who paid me 400,000 US to build. I told him I had zero. I told him I had nothing. And he said, okay, in 6 months, you need to build me a robo. So the product was, and this is honestly, was a bit of a problem. I didn't really sit and think deeply. I kind of sold something. It's like, oh my God, that guy give me money, let's go. And I started building. Now, it did cause some challenges around the product because it was partly customer-led. But that's it. Jamie, I'm not a product guy. I understand product. Would I sell then build again? Yes. I think too many people think, I'll build a product and they will come. No one's coming. Like nobody. And this is the sales part. But yeah, Jamie, that's how we did it. And that first product, we took them to other banks and we refined it and started to build it. But to be honest, it was that very first client who helped shape the product. But they gave us 400K, which then enabled us to raise money because 3 months in, we had 400K revenue. So that was that.
No, I mean, first of all, I definitely agree with you that selling before you build is, and I mean, that's not just me, that's our hyper approach as well. And but to get that initial client willing to fund the development of it is quite a unique situation, right? And as you said, maybe kind of geared you towards making it too niched towards that client's, I guess, needs. But what I wanted to ask and what I'm leading to is I guess in retrospect, were there something you would have done differently, whether it was sell it and then build, or maybe just not focus too much on that initial client, or try maybe not accept that 400K right out the gate, or
yes. Here's the big thing, right? If you're B2B and you build a product, people have to buy that product. But we know it's brain-numbingly hard to build a product that people want right away. So what happens? A large enterprise comes around the corner and goes, oh, that's really nice, kind of. Here's X $100,000 million to tweak it. The minute you take those dollars, you're off down the scary path of customization.
Right.
It's really hard to say, Jamie, do I wish I had never taken any of those dollars? Because not long after we got that 400, Malaysia's biggest bank offered us $1.2 million for a deal. Now, how did we get those deals? I grew up on the cold calling 8 meetings a day streets, hustling the hell. It wasn't just we called one or two people. We got every bank in Malaysia. We got everybody. We went at it. And I have a secret skill. I'm old. I have 30 years of network, so I knew who to call. It wasn't like I was starting. So I think the problem, Jamie, is that when you have a really strong network in enterprise, you can get custom deals, so you get it. I think in retrospect, I'm always going to be that guy asking for the enterprise custom deals. I just priced it wrong. We can get into why Bambu didn't work in the end. The thing that I learned was the price. I got the price wrong. I should have stuck at a higher price. But then again, when you're a baby startup and somebody gives you a 6-figure deal, you say, yes, sir. How far, how fast? Let's go. Whereas you shouldn't, which is incredibly hard.
Yeah, no, understandable. And I think it definitely wasn't a mistake by any means. I mean, to get those kind of contracts so early on is incredible, Ned. I guess gearing towards when you were starting to scale now, right? So you've had this initial contract, 400K, this next Malaysia's biggest bank at 1.2, I think you said. How did you kind of navigate the challenges with scaling Bambu, specifically on the sales side, and with that maybe sales team you started to build, in terms of maintaining, that quality, I guess the messaging, the alignment of, I guess, your goal of what you're trying to achieve with Bambu? Was that a big issue for you, or was it quite well aligned? Did you just hire the right people?
Beautiful chaos, we called it. We called it beautiful chaos. I mean, it was chaotic, but it was beautiful. I adore people. I don't really love tech. I adore people. I love working with people. Do I think we hired great people? Yes. It's a real challenge. You know, once you have a startup so until there was 12 people, we all sat around the same table and you really felt it.
Yep.
Because when we got to literally 13, the co-working space splits into 3 tables of 6. So 6, 6, and another 6. And little gangs formed. I don't believe in politics at work. Guys, there's no politics at work. It's an imagination in your own brain.
Yep.
Nobody sits at home and thinks, oh, I wonder what politics I can do tomorrow. Like, it doesn't happen. It's just humans. Once you get bigger. Okay. I think we hired a lot of the right people. I made some mistakes. Of course I did. But as you grow, the great challenge is how do you keep that together? And I think one thing we didn't have was I hate this cliche, but true, the true north.
Yeah.
We were just trying to win deals. We weren't actually trying to fix digital wealth. We were trying to build a revenue generating company. So we did miss that true north because we kept getting away from it. When another client said, can you do X or Y? From a sales perspective, so passionate. I find it really hard to hire salespeople.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to, but they maybe haven't done it. They don't know how to do it. We hired some great. I made one mistake. Oh my God, I forgot. This first dude came through. He just presented as a superstar. And like a week later, he went missing. It was insane. I forgot about him. But we hired quite an array. I don't know if it's saying too much, Jamie, but obviously we worked with your wonderful dad, who was an amazing sales guy, who was an older guy my age. I had a young Singapore dude who was like 28. I had a guy in America. One thing I think, we were selling globally, and certain people know how to sell to certain regions. So definitely be aware of that, right? Of definitely. The best hire I made, and I'll say it, we had lots of great hires, but a young man called Sean Ju, who actually works in London now. He runs advertising on TikTok. Me and him together. He's a 30-year-old Singaporean dude. I'm an older expat dude. And when you get in the room, the combination of decision maker, people who make things happen, me and Sean found this rhythm where Sean knew how to follow up with one. Sales is about the right rhythm. Your product's irrelevant, guys. Yeah. Your product's irrelevant. Can you get the right rhythm with the people in the room and are you solving the right benefits? So I think we built a great sales team. And one of our problems was we oversold and underdelivered.
Right.
So that's how that was.
I mean, I think in terms of priorities, that definitely makes sense, in terms of focusing on the selling and just getting it in the door. But I'm quite interested to hear that you had this global approach pretty early on. Can you walk me through that? Was that your plan from the outset? Were you trying to dominate maybe that Singapore, that kind of Southeast Asian market first, or did it just you followed where opportunity came?
Oh my God! So as I mentioned at the beginning, strong opinions loosely held. Such a strong opinion. I'm always confused when people ask, "How did you get into a new market?" I'm like, I just asked. I just sent an email to Brazil, and we won Brazil's biggest bank. I know that sound. I don't mean to sound like a douchebag or whatever. So when I was a kid, like 100 years ago, going to a new market literally meant going to a new market, like literally. Whereas today, so our third client was Brazil's largest bank called Itaú. And how did we win them? We saw online that they were talking about digital wealth. So we started going onto LinkedIn, talking about South American market. We did a bit of research, sent out a white paper, got our name going a little bit. And then we just asked them. And we sent out messages, hey. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, do you guys build digital wealth? Because in Brazil, there was nobody built digital wealth. So at one point, we had clients in South America, North America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia. So we created a sticker that said Bambu available everywhere apart from Antarctica. And I actually think it hurt us, not the sticker. The sticker was cool as. We were trying to deliver on 6 continents with a little team out of Singapore.
Yeah.
My problem is I love the deal. And sometimes you don't need. The analogy is, if you guys are familiar, I have a Jack Russell Terrier, little dogs who bring home everything they find, whether it's a dead, rabbit that it doesn't need to bring home, to get a pat on the head and runs out again. My nature is to get every deal. I want the deal. And I sometimes don't stop to think, did we really need Brazil's biggest bank? So we ended up coding at night. So my team would work all night to code. And then grab a few hours sleep and we'll get back to it for Malaysia. And because I'm a big believer being in the trenches, I would say, even though I can't code, I'd go and buy them pizza. I just created an army of zombies, right? Who was just too tired. And so if you want to go international, literally just send an email to the person in that country. Don't go and open an office.
Yeah.
Don't do any strategy work. I'm going to say don't pay McKinsey.
The overhead, like it's not necessary. Yeah.
Just try. Now, I'm not saying go and try every country because you might not need to. But if you're curious about America, send some emails and look at the worst. Get a crappy United flight. It's $1,000 and knock on some, send some emails, ask for some meetings, go to one conference, don't pay, hang around outside, shake some hands and see what happens. Right. I think it's that grassroots level of doing it. Every country is available today. The only reason you don't go is that you're overthinking. Right.
No, it's interesting that, and you mentioned obviously your personal hunger for the deal, right? And I think that kind of nicely transitions us into this more investment strategy side of things. And we always say it's not just about raising as much as possible, right? When you can, it's about doing it sustainably, but also getting that smart investment, especially early on. So I'm curious that around those key elements that you believe investors were looking for in whether it's startups in general or specifically fintechs when you were going through those early funding rounds, and how did you position Bambu to kind of attract those key elements or those investor preferences?
So different times. I was raising in 2016. We started in February 2016.
Yeah.
Low interest rates, lots of cash. Today is different. But to me personally, what's not different is if you are pre-revenue, you're really selling the founder story. I think personally. Don't worry about metrics. Any numbers you make up, don't worry about them. I would stand up and go, my statement was this. Just in 2016, all banking apps were starting to go digital, right? Equity trading was digital. Wealth was not. I'm like, do you believe that any bank today could not be digital? No. Do you believe any wealth manager in 10 years' time will still be using paper? No. That's what I'm solving.
Yeah.
And we would have these very simple slides. I mocked up like a mobile screen that had like an ETF on it. And I said, straight up, I haven't built anything.
Yeah.
But I'm going to solve this problem. I had no metrics, no nothing early on. Of course, we then got $400,000 from a customer really quickly. So right. Of course, we're like, yay, we're heroes, let's go. I would say this, really be careful about if you're early stage, and I call that early stage under a year or under 6 figures of revenue, really be very careful about many slides on your deck being about your product. Your product sucks, right? Why does it suck? Well, because no one's using it. So it just sucks, right?
Like, not a product.
Yeah. Your product sucks. My product, our product. I didn't even have a product. Right. I drew it out. I used a Figma. I drew out a screen with some ETFs on. I put it in a deck, and I went and sold it. What I mean is, I think investors know that these hockey stick grows, these platforms with 10 slides or 12 slides with product features, have one feature that's a killer feature. Have you as an incredibly passionate founder. Now, I had a co-founder who was tech and good dude, but just had no passion, right? And we had to play our roles. I'm the guy that stands up and I'm like, we are doing this. Like, you have to believe. Like, come with me. And then they look at me as like, yeah, but you can't build it. I'm like, no, don't worry. I got the smart dude. Like, he can build it. And he's
right.
When you're talking to investors, key messages, show them you believe. And if you don't believe, go and get a 9 to 5, right? Because
of course,
let me promise you, and we'll talk about it, Jamie, this stuff's hard. This stuff will pay you no money. This stuff is hard.
Yeah.
If you do not love this, like, go get a 9 to 5. Show that passion. And secondly, don't try to oversell. Just tell them what you have today. Yeah. So many people, I think we got really, we raised $20 million. We raised continually. I raised $1 million, then 1.2, 3, 5, 10. The best lesson I learned particularly early on is, sure, the future big scary problem is there to solve. Yep. But don't tell them, and I'm going to build this and I'm going to build that.
Solve it all. Yeah.
you have what you have. Be clear, passionate, and determined. And the other thing is, when they say no, smile, move on, take no emotional energy. Let it go. Because I find that's what kills. People do like 20 pitches, and they're like, they all said no. And I'm sad. I'm like, I get it. Like, you did 20 in a day, right? They're like, no, I did 20 in the last 3 months. I'm like, really? So, I think if you haven't done multiple hundred of VC pitches, you're letting yourself down.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's that resilience, right? And I've said this a few times, Ned, is the biggest reason startups fail is not because of, the investment or the product market fits or, the team. It's the founder giving up, right? And
look, and we can talk about this, there is points when you do have to give up because this stuff is super crazy hard.
Right.
But, I think they're sitting around and thinking. So again, everyone's different. I have zero ability to think strategically. If I see something, I'm like, let's go, let's buy it, let's try it, let's go, let's try it. Now that gets me in a whole world of pain because that's the chaos, right? But I do, so I need to think some more. But I think there's, these magic quadrants from Gartner. Really? Like, you're sitting around looking at a magic quadrant from Gartner? Absolutely no, people. Like, your product.
Yeah.
Tell everybody. I love this phrase. This is the phrase, and we can talk about sales. Are you willing to let someone else's shittier product outsell you because you didn't go out selling? If so, that's on you.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I mean, you mentioned there I guess not over promising, right? I guess that's important, whether it's to your internal team, to an investor or a partner. But I'm curious around, so say after you've got a few of these checks in, right? You've raised a significant amount. You've now got these investors I guess, looking over your shoulder in some way. How did you kind of manage, I guess, the communication and the transparency with that relationship with the investor post funding?
It's a great question. I don't think they look over your shoulder. So I actually don't think that. No, okay. I don't think it's true. There's this idea that, look over your shoulder. Here's the cold, hard reality. The minute you take $1, you're never going back. There's no kickbacks. You take $1,000 check from a crowdfunding site. It's not that you have a boss. Like, at one point, even before Bambu failed, I only owned 20%. I didn't feel I had a boss. It's still my company.
Right.
But the difference is we were always transparent. We always said, but it's hard. Like, it's not a full-time job, but it's another job managing that. I would encourage. So what did we do? I think we didn't enough give them transparency. So I actually, by the end, I adopted a different strategy. No one likes doing the monthly reports. Hell, and you talk about overpromising.
Yeah.
Startups have difficult times. But no one wants to say to the investor, hi, this month I sucked and we lost clients and we made no money. We missed our numbers. Thank you. Yay. Yeah. So you dress it up. And it's inane. I did it too.
You can see right through it.
Yeah. Like, what I started doing at the end? Every Friday, I would get my phone. I would look into it and I would record a little video. I'm like, hey guys, so that's what happened this week. We had some wins, we had some losses, had a little WhatsApp group, sent it to them. I would really recommend, because here's the thing. Again, I can't see all 31 of you on the phone. I wish you all in the good fight. You will run out of money. And when you do, if you call that investor and you haven't called him for a while and say, hey, can I have some money? They will tell you no. Maybe not, but probably. If every Friday, just a little heartfelt 1 minute, hey guys, I'm really sorry. It was a tough week, man. Like, that client didn't close. Jesus, and our best employee just left. But, hey, look, I'm trying, man. Like, so, hey, have a great weekend. They will give you money. That's what I think. I think transparency is misunderstood. It is, hey, so we used to do, every 3 months, the board meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I think they're broken. Because the startup, unless the startup's beating numbers, but let's face it, most don't. Most startups, because, guys, I went back and looked at my 2016 deck, my 2017 deck. Let's go. I should have been doing 100 million today. I clearly am not, right? You're going to miss your numbers.
Yeah.
Because if you tell them the real numbers you might hit, you're not going to get funded. That's the game. I get it. But in the board meeting, you turn up and the startup's all there trying to justify and give the good things.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just
No,
say
it's
that.
interesting. I mean, that it's interesting to hear that you didn't feel that kind of pressure necessarily from your investors, right? Whether it was earlier or later on.
Man, so, and again, just me, there is no more pressure than me.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man. This is, sure, they owned it. Sure, I had diluted. Like,
Mm.
this is fine. Like, I'm the guy. So, you know what I say? Like, somebody said to me after Bambu failed, could you go back to a corporate? I'm like, you mean go back to a job where I get paid 9 to 5? If I make a mistake, nobody dies.
Yeah.
Yes, that's like a holiday.
Yeah.
If your startup fails, and mine did, investors lose money, and it sucks. Like, it sucks, but nothing sucks more. Nobody gives you more pressure. If you need an investor to look over your head to give you pressure, stop right now. Stop right now. There's no, to me personally, there's zero pressure from the investors because I want it more than them. They've got 100 companies in their portfolio. I'm just this over-energetic dude in the corner who keeps rattling on.
Right.
Again, just my view. I felt so much internal desire, not so much pressure. Hey, when the company started to, towards the end, pressure is a better word, but for the first 6 years as it was really working, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but I have a triathlon coach or a long distance running coach, and he says what you really need is bastard desire, like unstoppable bastard desire that you will not. At the end, I stopped because, we ran out of oxygen, but just my view.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, Ned, and I think that's a testimony, obviously, to your character. I think not only with how that relates to the sales side of things, but then also as a founder as a whole, right? And those kind of challenges, because I mean, there's that self-awareness and understanding your own strengths and weaknesses, not only maybe as the sales side, but as a founder and as I guess the CEO. Then, right? I think that's a big distinguishment that people struggle to make is, founders have a certain skill set when they enter this market, and then suddenly they've got a team to manage, and there's some challenges with that. So I mean, maybe in your situation, you're probably a great team leader, but how did you kind of adapt your leadership style as Bambu kind of scaled and as you were dealing with, the investors, the partners, the internal team?
Yeah, I didn't, Jamie.
You didn't. Yeah, you're just who you are, Ned.
I was. So one of my proudest moments at Bambu was in 2019, we had a team of about 50 people. We won best place to work in Singapore. We had 5.0 on Glassdoor for every single thing. And in a government survey of like 1,000 companies, we were the best place to work. We were doing well. That side. What I ignored is what I'm bad at: operations, getting the chaos in control. We had a good accountant in finance, but it wasn't perfect. I was excited to do lots of different projects. So when I said what I was blind to was we had an unbelievable culture and we had a great company, but it wasn't as organized, as well operated. I should have had a proper COO. My blind spot was people would do anything for Bambu. Like every startup, people believe, right? Because if you don't believe, again, go and work 9 to 5. But the mistake I made as a leader was not seeing my blind spot of the operational side. And we kept doing these large, big, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you are a product company, B2B, and a client wants you to customize, you have to be so careful. Yeah. So careful. Charge millions to customize, or they buy as it is. The painful road of getting 100K, we kept doing 100K, 200K, 500K deals, which sounds great. We got our revenue to 3-4 million, but my mistake was not being super clear. We weren't really building a scalable business, repeatable business. And that was my mistake as a leader, man. Great people, all heading in the right direction, but slightly not doing the right thing.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, that's the roller coaster you ride, right? You can't prepare for everything, right? We always say, as much as at Hyper, we're trying to de-risk this, provide some structure for founders specifically early on, there's going to be things that we can't foresee, right? And then that comes down to the character of the founder, right? And sticking with it. And I guess just ultimately just believing in what they're trying to do, that things will work out. But I'm curious around that because, Ned, you mentioned some things or some issues you had with the product side, maybe on the operations side, you said, then dealing with cash flow and running out of money. What's the biggest unexpected challenge that you face? I guess they were all somewhat unexpected. Otherwise, you wouldn't have faced them. But
I don't know. I expected it to be as hard emotionally and mentally as it was.
Yeah.
I'll be honest that, we built in the public limelight. So funnily enough, when it shut, it wasn't that hard. But as it was, like, when I love this phrase, right? 2016 to 2021, whenever we kind of tried to raise money, wanted to, we did. In a few months, we raised money, 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million. And we were building. We went to 500,000 revenue first year, and then 1 million by the end of the first year. Then we got to 1.5, then we got to 2, we got to 3. We didn't really get past 4. And coming towards the last year, we had 9 months runway left. And I heard a phrase, which I only heard afterwards, but I really like today. When you have 9 months or 6 months runway and you're a startup founder, the days are long, the months are short.
Yeah.
You can work 18, 20-hour days to solve everything, to do everything, and cutting costs isn't that easy. Like, even if you have to let people go, which is so hard, you have to pay them out first. So you can't wait to cut costs. Yeah. Like, what I didn't understand is, if you have 9 months runway today and you think cut costs today, right this second, right now, not tomorrow. I know how hard it is. Like, we did cut, but not hard. And the toll, the challenge it was that the really hard things that we faced was that we had built a fairly, we had 3 billion AUM asset management on our platform. We had 250,000 users. We had HSBC, Standard Chartered, Franklin Templeton, Malaysia's biggest bank, Saudi's biggest bank. We had a business. We were startup of the year. The hardest thing was to understand that what we built was kind of an out of control. We did lots of great things. The company failed because we just couldn't quite. We were so close, man. We were so close. I think that's the hard thing, is that you don't appreciate, because the highs of a startup life are so high. Like, we did so many good things. Like, of my career, clearly the worst financial decision of my career, but for my soul, for me, for like the experience running a startup and getting it right in certain times is amazing. The lows of knowing it's dying, and not only but mainly and the team kind of knows but doesn't really know, and you've got to shoulder it. Right. The actual day. So for people who don't know, we ran out of money. We had to liquidate. The day you tell your staff, phone your clients, it's actually not the hardest. It's hard to do it, but once you start, it's okay. Yeah. It's that period in between. But for so long, we had done so much correctly. We had built an amazing sales organization, an amazing brand. We had got close to that side. But I think as a founder, find somebody that will tell you that your baby is ugly. Don't. I have lots of dear friends, but I have one guy, used to be a private equity guy, and he always said, I'll always tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And if you're a founder, don't go looking for confirmation of what you're doing is right. Find that person who'll say, that button on your product absolutely blows.
It's so true, Ned. Yeah. Obviously, as I said, in these initial months, we really focus on validating. And, a common thing founders will say at the early ideation stages. So I ask, what kind of validation have you got? What's the feedback been? And they're like, oh, everyone loves it. Yeah, everyone thinks it's a really good idea. I just don't know how to do it. And it's like, well, that's just not productive, right? And coming back to the validation and what outcome that should have, we always say, like, where the idea is now to where it will be in 4 months or where it will be in a year should be very different things. Right?
Very different.
You're listening and you're speaking with the right people. But if it's not, then you're operating in a silo.
Hey guys, I can tell you exactly right now, today, if your product's any good. I can tell you it in 10 minutes time. Don't ask somebody if they like it. Don't ask somebody anything. Ask somebody for money for it.
Yeah.
And if somebody will give you money, it's a good product. If they won't, it's not. End of.
That's a great point. You mentioned there earlier, Ned, is the mental health side of things and the challenges that you go through as a founder, right? anyone who follows you on LinkedIn are all aware of your extremely impressive, I guess, borderline crazy running achievements. And you mentioned to me that you're gearing up for this kind of run until you fail challenge in Singapore in a few weeks' time. I'm curious around, I guess, what benefits maybe running specifically has brought to you in navigating the challenges of a tech founder, or just, I guess, physical and health and wellness that, you know, supports you on your mental health journey when you're being a founder. Was that a big, I guess, escape for you, or a coping side of things, if you don't mind me asking? Or where did this kind of, I guess, passion for the running side come into play?
It's actually, so I've always run, always enjoyed it, and just got into long distance running because as I got slower, I like competing and like winning. So the older you get, the further you can run slower. But it's actually, here's an interesting thing. So for any of you who run, you'll know an app called Strava. Strava is an app that records your run and sees what you do. People who, you know, I run not every day, but I run 80 to 100K a week. I know that's a lot. I am addicted to running. So it is it. When you're addicted to something, it's painful when you don't do it. When there was a 3-month period when I didn't run because my mental health was in such a bad shape, given what was happening at Bambu, my running friends, some very close running friends, sent me a note and said, "Are you okay?" Because they saw I hadn't run because I wasn't on Strava. That, to me, was when people knew I wasn't great. You see, I have an addiction to running. Like, I am a very poor version of me when I don't run. And, you know, left to my own devices, if life didn't get in the way, I'd just run all day. Like, I know I run 50K most weekends. I would just run. So I think, Jamie, to answer your question, incredibly important. If you're a founder, you know, not if you're a founder, most people in life have 3 things in life: family, work, and a hobby, right? So we have family, we have work, and a hobby. Clearly the first one's the most important. So family first, you know, don't mess up your family. And guys, you know, being a founder, go home and hug your partner. I promise you it's hard. Like, it's hard on your partner. It's hard. Of course, if you sell for 100 million, yay, but there's going to be a journey. So family. Work is amazing. Being a founder is the greatest thing you can do. The greatest thing you can do. I absolutely. But if you have a hobby, just make that time. I don't care whether it's running, knitting, going to the movies, reading books. I don't care, right? For me, it was running, Jamie. I really encourage you to keep that time, because if you don't, your family's going to get a shittier side of you. Because when they get the good side, because as a founder, you get these endorphins. I stood on stage and got awarded by Jack Ma of Alibaba as the best startup in Asia. I walk up to the stage and I'm like, look at me, I'm a genius. Those messages of self-love are damaging. They're damaging because you're like, oh, look at me. Like, I make lots of right decisions. Like, how clever am I, right? That doesn't help you. And then you go home, you're full of yourself and blah, 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 blah. Of course, failure's hard too. But whether it's running, so for me, Jamie, to answer your question, is running incredibly important to me? Yes. And I stopped for 3 months when it was hard. And I promise you this: don't stop your hobby, people, because it keeps you sane.
No, of course. Well, no, thanks for that, Ned. And then I guess on a lighter note, you know, I'm obviously a big follower of yours, and I now know that you're starting this new initiative, the Sales Movement. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the Sales Movement, and I guess how can it benefit founders or founding teams?
Of course, 100%, man. Really? It is a pure services business. So 8 years in product, didn't quite make it out the other side. I am now going to try a services business. It is me selling my services. I've been selling for 35 years. What do? We show startups, so B2B startups, how to sell, generate leads, and close leads using content. What is content? Everything from your CRM email marketing and having a CRM input properly, to your newsletter, your LinkedIn, and your pitch deck. What is the service? It's me coming to startups and helping them get that sales process and content in order. I think if you're B2B today and you're doing product selling, it's going to be a real struggle. You have to do content. So if you're on this call and you're listening, number one, if you don't have a CRM, it's very hard to succeed. Number two, do you have a great newsletter that talks about the problem, not about your product?
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, do you post on LinkedIn every day? There is no excuse, zero excuse, like zero.
Yeah.
Do you produce content, podcast, newsletter, etc.? So I go in, I help startups set up great sales procedures. I check that their decks in great order. And also, honestly, I just rile them up every day as well. Like, I adore sales.
Right.
And if they're sitting wondering what to do, I'm like, look, cold hard facts. I'll put the great processes in place, content, newsletters. I'll do it with you. In 3 months, I'm gone, because you'll have it figured if you want to stay. Fantastic. It's a simple services business. I adore it. I haven't launched, but I've already got quite a lot of startups, because I think I found the thing, Jamie. Me selling. Oh my God, I should have thought of this a long time before.
Selling from the sales guru. I think that makes a lot of sense, Ned. And then one final one here, Ned, is just around, I guess, again, the founder's role in having that self-awareness in terms of, first of all, identifying their strengths and weaknesses, but more specifically now, Ned, with I guess some of the startups you're working with. How important is the founder's role in the selling of the business, whether it be through partners or investors, right? Is it really fundamental for them to be that founder and face in these kind of pitch sessions or whatever, or is it a case of maybe putting someone in charge there, because they're co-founder or initial employee to head that up? What do you think?
You have to be that thing, I think. Now, not all founders are salespeople. I understand some are product people. I understand. If you do not hire a head of sales.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried to sell yourself, or you haven't got a CRM content sales process, that head of sales will fail.
Yeah.
You have to, either your founder or your co-founder, somebody right at the beginning, has to be out selling. And even if you are not a salesperson, you can post on LinkedIn every day, 100%. Like, don't tell me you can't. You can. Like, you've got fingers. Like, bash on the keys.
Yeah.
And then talk about your product. Remember, no one cares about your product.
Yeah.
Benefits, not features. So I think, look, I don't know why I've got this kind of ball of energy inside me for stuff. It's just part of life. Maybe that's a long way.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in the 9 to 5 are like, dragging their feet to work. You cannot be dragging your feet to your startup, because you should not be getting paid hardly anything. You are going to be working 18 hours a day. It's like bashing your head against the wall. It's an incredibly good feeling, because you'll get somewhere. But you must have passion for your startup, and just say that.
Yeah.
Whatever your startup is, even if you're making, I don't know, new tin openers, like, make the most beautiful tin opener. Talk about why tin openers have changed, and they used to be on top and now they're on the side, and just why you love tin openers. As a kid, you loved baked beans, and that's why it is. And be raw. Like, do not use ChatGPT. I will hunt you down, because if you use ChatGPT, I will know it's crap. Like, be authentic, be real, and don't be scared that your post is, what will people think? What? Your LinkedIn following that no one follows? People think you suck? They don't. Post, because that is how you get people to you. So I think as a founder, you must show passion, because it will bring investors to you. And ultimately, of course, they're buying your product, but they're buying you.
Brilliant. And Ed, I think that's a fantastic way to kind of wrap things up. I'm sorry, I'm just conscious of time. We didn't get to too many audience questions, but as we said, we'll leave obviously Ned's contact details, and obviously feel free to reach out to him directly if he has the time.
Of course.
Ned, thank you so much for your time today. That was really, really interesting conversation, and I think really, really beneficial to our community, mate. So I really thank you.
And just to say, look, I am doing the sales movement as a commercial thing. I have quite a few Series A startups paying me to do this. But listen, seriously, and I put this on LinkedIn, so I'm saying it here. You're a startup and you're at a crucial phase, or you want half an hour chat to get just some motivation for sales, or you've really hit me up on LinkedIn. It's Ned Phillips. I'm the dude in the funny running shirt. Have a look at my LinkedIn now. Have a look what it says. It says on the banner, it says salesman. That's what it says. It doesn't say keynote speaker, tokenized dude, influential LinkedIn top voice. If you want to talk sales and you need half an hour and you're struggling, just hit me up. Happy to.
Amazing. Ned, thanks again. And I'm sure we'll speak again soon. But yeah, appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We'll see you again soon.
Cheers. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.